A painter who had lost his colors watched as the butterflies began to fade from his garden. Day by day, the vibrant wings that once danced among the flowers grew fainter, their brilliant patterns dissolving into the gray light that had seeped into his world. His studio, once a sanctuary of creation, now felt like a tomb. Canvases leaned against the walls, blank and accusing. Jars of paint sat with their lids screwed on tight. The pigments within them dry and cracked, mirroring the artist's own spirit. He would sit for hours, staring out the window, a heavy silence his only companion. The world outside seemed to have lost its saturation, every hue muted, every shadow deeper. The garden, once a riot of life and inspiration, was now just a collection of shapes and forms, devoid of the magic he used to see so clearly. It felt as if a veil had been drawn over his eyes, and he no longer knew how to lift it. The joy he once found in a brushstroke, the thrill of mixing the perfect shade, was gone. All that remained was an empty ache where the passion used to be. He whispered to the empty room, his voice raspy from disuse, "I can't paint beauty if I don't feel it anymore." The words hung in the dusty air, a stark confession of his creative bankruptcy. He looked down at his hands, hands that had once brought worlds to life on canvas. Now they were covered in a fine layer of dust, the grime a testament to his inactivity. He remembered the feeling of wet paint under his fingertips, the smooth glide of a brush loaded with color. Now they only knew the rough texture of neglect. He tried to recall the brilliant crimson of a poppy or the deep indigo of a twilight sky. But the memories were like old photographs, faded and distant. How could he translate the soul of a flower onto canvas when he could unfeel its pulse in his own heart? The frustration was a physical weight pressing down on his chest. It wasn't just a lack of inspiration. It was a profound sense of loss, as if a vital part of himself had been amputated. He had lost his language, the visual vocabulary he used to communicate with the world. One afternoon, as he sat listlessly on his porch, a child from the village approached, her eyes wide with curiosity. She had often watched him from a distance, seeing the sadness that clung to him like a shadow. She looked from his empty easel to his somber face and asked with a simple, profound wisdom that only children possess, "Then why not paint how you feel, not what you see?" Her small hand reached out, offering him a single, clean brush. The question was so direct, so disarmingly simple, it cut through the layers of his despair. Paint how he felt. He had spent his entire career chasing perfection, trying to replicate the world outside with flawless accuracy. He had been so focused on capturing what he saw that he had forgotten to express what he felt inside. He looked at the brush in her hand, a simple tool, yet, in that moment, it felt like a lifeline. It wasn't about recreating the butterflies. It was about painting their absence. It wasn't about the vibrant garden. It was about the gray one in his heart. He took the brush, the smooth wood familiar in his palm. A flicker of something, not quite hope, but a spark of possibility ignited within him. He went back to his studio, but this time he didn't look out the window for inspiration. He looked inward. He began to paint again, this time with memory, not perfection. He squeezed out a tube of gray, the color of his sorrow, and spread it across the canvas. Then a dark, murky blue for his loneliness. He worked not with precision, but with raw, untamed emotion. He let his feelings guide the brush, slashing, dabbing, and swirling. He wasn't trying to create a masterpiece. He was just trying to be honest. Slowly, tentatively, other colors began to appear. A faint yellow, the ghost of a happy memory. A sliver of green, a fragile sprout of hope. Colors began to bloom across the canvas, not as a perfect garden, but as a chaotic, beautiful landscape of his own inner world. The process was messy, cathartic, and utterly liberating. He was no longer a slave to reality. He was the creator of his own. As he painted from the heart, a strange and wonderful thing began to happen. His garden, the real one outside his window, started to fill with butterflies again. But these were not the butterflies of old. These were painted not by technique, but by pure emotion. The canvases in his studio exploded with life. Butterflies with wings of fiery rage, soft sorrow, and brilliant joy took flight. The garden on his canvas glowed with vivid hues he had never used before, colors born from his deepest feelings. His studio, once a place of silence and dust, was now a whirlwind of creation. Each brushstroke was a word, each color a feeling. He painted the frustration, the longing, the flicker of hope, and the quiet acceptance. He discovered that emotion had its own palette, its own texture, its own light. His art was no longer a mirror of the world. It was a window into his soul. And through that window, true beauty, raw and authentic, began to shine. He stood back and looked at his work. The canvases were alive, pulsating with the very feelings he had tried so hard to suppress. And as he looked, he felt a smile spread across his face. The first genuine smile in a long, long time. A ray of sunlight broke through the gray clouds, falling across his face, illuminating the tear tracks that mixed with smudges of paint. He understood then. But it was never lost. It was just buried. He learned that purpose isn't something you find like a lost object. It's something you create day by day, brushstroke by brushstroke, from the raw materials of your own experience. It's forged in the fires of your struggle and shaped by the hands of your heart. His art was no longer about perfection. It was about connection. Connection to himself, and in turn, connection to the world. The light on his face wasn't just the sun. It was the dawn of a new understanding. Just like the painter, learning a new language isn't about getting every word perfect. It's about expressing who you are. Learn English with stories. Here, we believe in painting your English with feeling, not with fear. Don't worry about making mistakes. Focus on telling your story. Let your emotions guide you, and you'll find your own voice, your own color, your own unique way of communicating. Your purpose in learning is not to be flawless, but to connect. Start creating your own beautiful language today. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more stories that inspire. We'll see you in the next one.